there's something that I'm going to tell you in this whole prison thing. That's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate. But I guess it's fortunate because I got a whole bunch of them stories because Petersburg was a freak show. Everybody wants to hear about somebody going trying to take life butt.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And but I've got all these great stories about these people that were gangsters and crazy, and all they want to hear about is, little white guy came in and Flaming Raymond got his butt.
Yeah. Hey man, what it's at the end of the day, I guess sex sells, and it doesn't even matter what type of genre it's in, it sells, man. People like seeing booty bandits. It's weird because I've got a lot of stories of some violent stuff, you know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of other stuff going around. I just didn't really pay attention to too much about it. But yeah, man, people love hearing that shit.
That word? Where'd you hear that word? Did they say that word when you were locked up? Booty bandit?
Oh yeah. Booty bandit?
I never heard that.
Yeah.
I never heard that till I got out of prison.
Yeah, there was a lot of see, but like in state-wise, because you was in the feds, in state-wise West Virginia, they don't have enough space. So you know what I'm saying? So they just put all these chomos / booty bandit dudes. They're everywhere. You know what I mean? So they're right beside you at any given time. So yeah, you see a lot of stuff. It's just it's nuts.
Dude, Petersburg was 40% sex offenders. 40%. Now you put a bunch of weirdos that have that hypersexual thing going on in a place with each other, and weird stuff happens.
Weird stuff, man.
Now, what was the gangsters? You'd see them go in a room with them and put the sign up, and these were supposed to be stand-up, hardcore guys that were respected.
Yeah, that's
live your life. Somebody get whatever, go ahead and do that, But I mean, even then, you think somebody have some morals.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I feel like I've known a lot of dudes that never went down that route, and these are guys that have 5 to 10 year sentences, and they end up copping the diddy bop or going and get their wee sucked. And like you said, they're a part of some organization. I'm like, why would you do it after the fact? Because now you're getting fucked up. Because if I know, everyone knows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's cool if you want to go that way. I don't care, but don't do it after you cross this line. You know what I'm saying?
And you find out every other week about somebody new, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah. I
try to tell people that you think this person, this, everything else. There was a guy I was friends with for 6 months. 6 months I was friends with this guy. 4 of us hung out, and he went on a rampage. He didn't go, finding people that wanted it. He went and knocked people out and did it. 12 people in probably 6-week period.
God damn. See, that was one thing that I was amazed is by in prison. I had this notion that there was going to be these cross-dressed women everywhere, and you would know. It's like certain states they're allowed to grow their hair out. So like then in West Virginia, you couldn't have your hair past 3 inches. Now you can have as long as you want. So now you can really decipher who's the punk and who's not. But if like raping wise, there was never really any rape because there were just so many people that were willing to give it up that now I'm not saying it didn't happen, but it's not really like you always hear about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's the same thing with this guy Ghost is what he went by, was probably about 6'3", 210, claimed Native American, but he was paler than cotton. He had long hair that put oil in, I guess, to make it look shiny like a native. He claimed Native American. And he was in there for robbing dollar stores, but he burned down a house across town. So then the police would go there and he claimed he robbed banks and he burned down a house to rob bank. But I looked it up since I've been out. He's robbing dollar stores. He got about $1,500, robbed $5 stores. He didn't do shit.
Damn.
And he had a criminal charge from before, but see, you don't know that. You know what he's in there for this time.
Yeah.
He was normal for 6 months. And on the 3rd floor, he started making heart signs at this punk they called Janet Reno out of nowhere. And he went down there and claimed him a punk. He went up, the punk's man said, he's with me now. If you got a problem, do something. And that's how he talked.
God,
and then
damn.
He went on just every 3 days. He's knocking somebody else out and everything else, but he wouldn't do it to anybody that would fight back. And me and Max, the guy who were friends with him, they used to sit out front like it was on the porch, like sit out front of the cell we didn't sit out there. And then it made it awkward because we'd be somewhere else and he'd just show up and what do you say to that? Like,
Yeah, there was this one dude I've kind of talked about in a couple of my videos. Dude's name was Spaceman. He'd been doing prison time throughout his whole life, and he pretty much had, all missing teeth and had one big one in the center. And he would get in trouble for booty popping the pledgers while he was in the hole or on the yard. He would go up to random people and he'd call people bitches and whores and shit because he was a rat. He was a known rat, and he would run and tell right in front of you. So if you hit him, you're going to the hole. But then he would walk around the hall, butt crack hanging out. You know what I'm saying? He kind of sounded like the dude off Family Guy, Mr. Herbert. Oh, I got some candy in the basement for you.
Yeah.
That shit looks good. That sounded like him. So he'd walk the hallway and just kind of throw shots like, I suck your dick. Yeah.
Oh man.
He was disgusting. He stunk. Everywhere he went, it was just one of those things where oh man, you couldn't do nothing to him.
Yeah, and they let you know at Petersburg orientation, if you're local, you end up there. It's not protection or that mix and match. I'm from Virginia. I went there, but they got chummers that get beat up in California that they send to Petersburg. Gang members too, or some gang members there that was Serenia's other stuff that I was friends with, and they're like, yeah, they like to spread us out so we don't have too much power. I'm like, there's 200 Serenios in California at Lone Pop. They didn't send you all the way out to Petersburg, Virginia, from California, because they were worried about your power
for running rank.
But
something's up with that.
But there were people from California, Texas, even Alaska. There's a dude from Alaska. But the weirdos. There was one called Nubs. Now Nubs was inbred. He's from West Virginia now. Yeah, your homeboy. But anyway, sorry, I had to say it. He had a slope back head, and he had this hair that looked like kind of like a Jerry curl, but he's white dude. Looked like a gray skunk tail. Yeah. And he didn't have any fingers. He had these nubs, but he had thumbs with thumbnails. And I heard that he messed with somebody's little kid, and that they cut his fingers off. I had to ask him. I can't help it. I sit there and I stew with that, and I'm like, somebody cut his fingers off. So I go, somebody cut your fingers off, and he said, no. Everybody thinks that, no. And then he told me that his dad was his granddad, his mom was his sister, so a dad banged a daughter, and he popped out with the genetics. And
that's even worse, man. I don't know which side would be worse, even being an inbred or being a bit. I don't know, man. Dude, sheesh.
He was going in there with the boys too. They called him going town on. That was the unit manager came around because we got a bad inspection. Y'all, your building's 8 according to like inspection, the cleanest building. Okay, same thing. We got a bad inspection. The unit manager came tearing stuff up, ignoring the bathroom sign. And she opened up the door, and all you heard her say was, oh, hell no. Back up out that man. God. Back up out that man. Back up out that man was what she said. And, like, Lord,
booty cheeks, boy. God damn.
It was the Twilight Zone. I've never been to a place like that,
Yeah, my buddy who's back in Hazleton now, he's DMI. I've done a couple videos with him, Cody, and him and my cousin are the only ones that had ever been to the feds that I personally know, like on a close basis. And I know a lot of people went to the feds, but I didn't talk to them like that. And the shit that I'd heard was majority of the population from the DC dudes was they was going that way.
You're damn right. You're damn right. That's not a lie. And a lot of people get mad at me about that. I have nothing against Cornelius Porter. His name is Muslim. He goes by Talib. He's a manager of Walmart in DC. One of my best friends. He's living his life. I ain't got anything against people from there. I never heard that before I went to prison. Mm-hmm. Yes, they absolutely are.
It's crazy.
Now, they're gangsters, though.
Yeah.
They'll stab you. They'll fight you. They'll stab you. And
they'll kill you.
They'll go around chasing people with that meat shank all day trying to find a place to put it. There was one DC Mike. He pimped out this one that they call Wendy. Some people call him Pippi Longstockings. It looked like Carrot Top. This skinny redhead. And I was new to prison. I went to education to print out my mailing labels to put on my letter. You had to put a mailing label on your letter to send it out in the feds.
Oh, yeah.
So I get stuck over there because you only get 10 minutes on the hour to move around. So I get stuck at education. I got to take a piss. So I go, there's a long hallway, and there's this guy standing outside the bathroom. He looks at me. He's like, you new here? I'm like, yeah. He said, you might want to just go on. Wait, it's going to be a minute. And I said, I got to go,
Why we
man.
go that way?
I said, I got to go. I'll wait. And he's like, man, you need to fall back. And I was like, well, okay. And then I asked people, what's going on? I said, and I just got the medium, and I know over there people get upset over nothing, everything else. Somebody tells me fall back, I'm not going to try to fight with them over, but
Melvin.
I learned you don't use the bathroom in education.
Mm-mm.
Ever. You don't ever use the bathroom.
It seems like education wing in every prison, whether it's federal or state, it seems like education bathroom wing is where everyone meets up and goes and does their little suckety suck boppity bop shit during the day at school. I mean, I guess they got to get their education, they got to get their brain right, I guess.
Man, I've never been around anything, and I'm gonna tell you something now. At Petersburg, they had a whole lot of different people, a whole lot of crazy stuff that I saw there. But I will say one thing: they had a whole bunch of people that were transsexuals that ended up in the drug program, and you hear their stories and stuff. And I didn't grow up around a whole lot of that, but all the ones that were there at Petersburg, none of them were sex offenders. They were all. As soon as they got there, they'd have somebody deny their religion or come out of the closet. There was one that showed up
quick.
There's one that showed up looked like Gary Coleman, and looked like Gary Coleman walked out of the shoe where the process from, and I see these things bouncing below the waist, and I was like, man, this clown over here is playing, and they get closer, and I see their hips are about 3 foot wide, and I'm like, oh, they're not playing. It must have been one of them botched hood jobs where they inject somebody with cement, and they called this one Ricky Minaj.
Oh God, Ricky Minaj.
No, I'm not kidding. Like 3 foot high hips.
Cement. Dump truck. Dump truck.
And this 6'6" devout Muslim of 10 years have been in prison. Went and told his homeboys, listen, this is what I'm doing. If you got a problem, do something. And they went and they became an item. And
see, it's funny because like I always tell people, prison drama wise is worse than high school or middle school because you'll have these dudes that have these little girlfriends and everyone's a slut, right? I know a few dudes that would purposely only go for the straight guys, you know what I'm saying? And they were very successful. The moment that they would go and get the diddy bop, they would come out in the yard and announce to everybody that they just sucked old boys wee wee off. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like they thrived off that shit, man. Yo.
Man, that's it. See, Petersburg had a weird culture, and here's why: you had the 40% Chomo people that had all that energy, and they were just like you said, they're sluts. But then you had all these supposed gangsters that were chasing them around or getting behind the scenes with all of it and everything else. And there was different person to get caught doing something nasty every week, every week. And there was, at the low, I'd say a lot of it didn't get as noticed as much because down at the low. When I first got there, I thought, man, they hid the cameras well in here. I can't find a one of them. It took me, 3 or 4 months before I realized, shit, there ain't any cameras in here at all. And there were a whole lot of fist fights because of that, but nobody got stabbed at the low.
Yeah, and that's the weird part. It's like it seems like at the lower classification prisons, you have a lot more fights, less stabbings or killings, but more drugs, more freedom, I guess you could say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hate the politics. I think it's dumb. And with me being involved in, an organization, I always felt like when you went from low to max, right? You have dudes that have black kids, have black family members, but they over here with, I guess, what a lot of Western prisons, out West prisons would call them the woodpile. You know what I'm saying? Either the Odinist or, a lot of these Aryan dudes, man, it blew my mind. You know what I'm saying? And even though I'm black, my nickname's White Boy. It's crazy because at the end of the day, they shouldn't be talking to me. And this is funny because their excuse always was, well, you act like a white boy. It doesn't matter. My skin's black. Like, you know what I'm saying? I didn't say it, but in my head, I'm thinking this. Like, regardless of what you think I am, my skin is exactly what it is. You know what I mean? So it just blew my mind. You know what I mean?
I wasn't none of that stuff either. Because see, when I went into prison, my ex, who turned out to be a no good, damn dirty hussy, was black. You know, and going into prison with black girlfriend, just coming from this one world and going in there and seeing how everything's separate. Made for, it was unusual, you know, and none of the little independent, like the smaller little basic flunky white gangs, they were the only ones that cared. I did burpees with the head of the Aryan Brotherhood, and I showed him pictures of her, and he was complimentary, didn't have anything to say. It was all the serious Aryan Brotherhood, didn't have nothing to say, but the little wannabe hard
wannabes. It was
say,
always the wannabes that felt like they had to say or do certain things for them to be in a certain spot. And it's weird because I've said it before too. It's like I've been around a lot of, let's just say, black and white dudes, right? Where when they're around no one else, they act this type of way. But once there's many people around, they completely switch up and they feel like they have to act a certain way just to fit in. And I'm just like, it doesn't that get tiring? Doesn't it get old? Like
exhausted putting on an act.
Doesn't it get like, do you forget what you be saying and be slipping up? It's funny because a lot of the dudes in prison, a lot of the black dudes are homophobic, but they're more the ones that were coming out the closet and you were finding out shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Now, you know, that I'm gonna say something. Now, there was this little gay guy in the drug unit. Had the biggest eBay scandal in the history of the country. I believe his name was Charles Sturgios, and he's 5 foot tall, about 240 pounds. And in the drug unit, it's a program of telling on people, not for stuff that we're in trouble, but for other stuff.
yeah.
I paid off 3 out of the 4 inmates that ran it. The one inmate I couldn't pay off was actually banging Sturgios. Go figure. He's banging him behind the scenes, but he's super Mr. Program. Well, Sturgios, my cellie, was the head of the Serenos at that time. That's who I got along with. At the medium security, I sailed with the number 2 for the Pisces for about a year. Then when I went to the drug program, the head of the Serenos. And, you know, I just got along with the Amigos. I was darker skinned back then. I looked white. You know, I remember when I first got to prison, I was walking beside somebody. I asked him, you know what time this is going to happen? He said, you messed me up. I thought some kind of Spanish was going to come out of your mouth. But anyway, my cellie asked him, leave me a list. Leave me a list of all the people, because he was wanting to get sodas, but he didn't have any money. He was going home. You know, when people get ready to go home, they don't have any money left, how they start.
They save it all up or something.
Well, he said, I'll give you $10 stuff, but you got to leave me a list. He says, you just can't show it until after I leave, okay? He left the list. 20 out of 140 people in the drug unit that he had and what he'd done with each one. Yeah.
What?
Some surprised me.
Them.
Some surprised me. Some I didn't know. But you were saying something about the homophobic and that stuff. It was all black dudes.
Mm-hmm.
It was all black dudes. And his cellie was a 6'4" transsexual, went by Rika. Now, Rika was 6'4" and 210 pounds, looked lanky. And, you know, Rika beat the hell out of 3 guys that tried to, you know, jump. There was this guy from, I think, Bristol. This guy who was part of one of those white gangs went off, became an item with Rika. Well, some of the Amigos didn't like it. And 3 of them jumped Rika. Rika knocked all 3 of them out. The last one knocked the first 2 out. The last one was short and stocky, 6'4", 210. That might look soft. That's some mass. You know when people palm a little kid's head and their arm?
Oh, yeah.
Rika did that to this dude, and then took the other arm and windmilled him and knocked him out.
Sheesh.
But, yeah, they were.
This is the thing. Like a lot of people's assumption or notion is, oh, these punks or whatever, right? Is there these small defenseless dudes or these feminine dudes? You gotta realize some of these guys were actually trans on the street, or they grew up that way, so they've been fighting. They know how to fight. They will whoop your ass, talk shit about you, suck you off, then whoop you again, like type, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
but I didn't believe that until I saw it. Mm-hmm. Okay, you know how there's a barber for each race and stuff like that. Okay, well, at Petersburg is 40% chomos, so there's a barber for all the gay people and all the chomos. And, you know, I always make, you know, disclaimer of that, because I don't want people to think I'm hating. I know this is a whole new woke nation and all this type of stuff. And, you know,
it's facts, though. It's how it is. This is a whole different life, and this is just how it goes.
There's always going to be that one Gentile that comes out there and like, oh, my God, I can't believe he said that, you know, and something like that. Somebody complained the other day. I made a video. It's called Turned Out by Bieber, talking about this little Justin
Bieber-looking dude.
Yeah, looked like Bieber. It didn't even look like Bieber, but had that haircut. And everybody called person Bieber, but people can't take a story sometimes. But anyway, the barber was 6 foot, probably about 6 foot something, on hormones and everything. The nickname for this barber was 5 o'clock shadow. Cannonball calves, and was on the hormones. So people must thought, like you said, you wouldn't have guessed that. And I'm gonna tell you what was funny though. Lily was white, but Lily had a little black boyfriend that was 5'4" and looked like Kevin Hart, and pulled him in from the TV room because he was watching Love and Hip Hop.
Mm-hmm.
They said Lily walked in the room and said, "Oh no, you are not disrespecting me like this." Snatched him by the ear, brought him back to the cell, and smacked the piss out of him for about 5 minutes.
God damn.
Lily beat the hell out of a number of people. This one guy they called Snowflake, who talked like this. I bought a pizza from him because somebody else talked to me about it. Find out he's giving $5 Hummers in the kitchen. I'm a hypochondriac. Had me worried for a week after I ate this pizza made by this person. I was mad. I about got ready to fight over that. You don't know. Yeah,
you don't know. People will do anything, especially if you've worked in the kitchen. I know that people have done things because certain people in the hole, right? Certain rats or whatever, they'll get specific trays so that they get bigger portions of this or that. So I've seen certain individuals in the kitchen fuck with these chomo or rats trays, but there's people do stuff to the regular food all the time. You just don't see it. It's disgusting.
Well, it was more just I thought, this dude, he's giving $5 Hummer. He probably got AIDS, and I don't know, what. I'm paranoid. Andre, anyway, this Lily comes in the building. They put up this paper that has like posters of movies that they're going to play for the weekend movies, and they said that Snowflake grabbed Lily's boob, and Lily took a stapler and beat him half to death with it. Another time, Lily walked out and told a gang member on the yard, "I've heard my name come out of your mouth again. If it happens one more time, I'm going to knock you out. I'm going to, yeah." Lily, they said, was in there for killing their boyfriend and throwing him off a cruise ship.
God damn.
So, it's a killer.
Yeah, a lot of these dudes are killers, man. And you can't. It's funny because like a lot of these gang members, most of the time you can tell who's a part of what for what reason. You know what I'm saying? Like if you've seen them before they join, say they get into prison, you see them before they join and they act a certain way and then they switch over. You can definitely pinpoint someone that should not be there, and the easiest one to fold, regardless if you have a punk that comes up and punks them or slaps them around, or you know what I mean. It looks like we got 1 minute and 37 seconds left to be able to record. Now, did you want to do something again later on type thing, or?
Man, whenever we do, sorry, like I said, I've got my little insomnia issues. Like I literally just said, like it really is an issue. You hear me talking about it, but past week I have not slept good at all. So I go way off left field sometimes down the rabbit hole. So hope so that was interested, but I need to get a little more comfortable. I know it sounds funny, but just doing this, like
it's different.
Like I can get up in front of a group of people and talk. I'm getting ready to do that at a college here, and just I think it's on the 12th or the 14th. I can do that fine, but whenever there's somebody talking back, and I feel like people are watching, I feel myself getting shaky,
it's different. Opposed like just talking to a camera, then talking to someone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get used to it. Thank you for doing that. I'm glad.
Hey, no problem.
Get used to, you know what I mean, to doing it because
hey man, we all here for the same thing. You know what I mean?
Man, in this whole prison thing, man, you are the most supportive person of anybody to everybody. Like you are the person that just tells everybody, like you give everybody hope, comment, and everything else. Like you push everybody along in this thing.
I see a lot of people that get upset. I don't want to say any names,